Now, what you are speaking to that I think we have to be mindful of is, are Black people being overly regulated in a particular way? And what we found with the example of hair care is that you got almost 40% of Black women who are experiencing some form of hair loss and alopecia. I need the person who's got their hands in my head to understand something about alopecia. I need the person who's got their hands in my head to understand something about like what can happen when you transfer dirty products or dirty utensils from one person's head to another person's head. I am deserving of that in terms of safety for my body as much as, if not more so than, is my white sister deserving of it, because we all study white people's bodies. It's rare that Black people have a system that says, no, there is a standard for us too.
We're ready. We're prepared. Do not give in to fear. We are fearless. This is not the time to be afraid. This is a time to stand up and fight back and to resist any temptation for them to divide us. We're in this together. The rule of law is on our side. We will not give in, not give up. We will not capitulate. We will not bow. We will not bend. We will survive.
So I was sitting in the studio listening to Loree, smiling, because to watch her work is is phenomenal. This woman, just incredible. 10 a.m. Eastern right here on 126. And she had a caller call in, a truck driver. You know, our mother truckers are the backbone of this entire SiriusXM. Most of the heart of this company comes through those rigs. Y'all hold it down. Even those of you who are riding hard with the wrong ideals right now because you are fed this for 10, 12 hours, you in that rig being fed a bunch of nonsense. Come on over, get this clean glass of water. Come on over, get this truth. Come on over, get this humanity. It will change your life. Because aren't you tired of being angry and small and tiny? Aren't your knuckles bruised and bloodied enough? Pick them up off the ground and let's get busy. We got work to do. We need everybody, all hands on deck. So I'm grateful that we get to sit here. But I was so impressed. This is Talk That Talk Tuesday, and I realized that a lot of people may not call in the show because they're nervous, and worried that they may get gathered. And that could happen. I'm not going to ever say that won't happen because it depends on, it depends on my mood. If Smiz is here, Amina's probably not going to gather you, but she's capable. She's much nicer than most of us, but she's capable. And, I'm also mindful that 90+% of people never call. So I'm also going to be concerned with the people who are listening, that I don't want them to go to sleep and be bored with the ramblings of some of y'all. Some of y'all like to ramble and and immediately I kind of get whether you're trolling, whether you're rambling. But I also realize that I'm quick on the draw. Now, I ain't giving you a chance sometimes to show whether or not you are coming in honestly. And I'm trying to be better at that. It's not my nature, to you're guilty until proven innocent. That is how I've kind of lived my life, and it's worked for me. But in this seat, I think it's important that we hear each other, and I'm gonna try to do a better job. I can't promise that I'm gonna change 50 years of conditioning. But listening to Loree yesterday and watching her, I was like, let me pull this clip. So it's a truck driver. His name is Buck in Michigan. He called up about the vaccines, and let me just tell you, I recognize the fears that people had. I was a holdout on this COVID-19 vaccine because I ain't trusted. I had to be convinced by a whole lot of experts that this was something to do, and I was very much willing to stay in the house forever until y'all figured it out, or people just, whatever people do. But I am smart enough to understand that there are people smarter than I am, and if the thing makes sense, and it's not just that it makes sense to me, because some things make sense to people and you don't have the sense to know what makes sense because you don't have enough tertiary gray matter knowledge to even know whether it makes sense. It feels right, and feelings aren't facts. But Buck called up about the vaccines, and I think he was semi-defending Robert F. Kennedy, and Loree was so patient that I wanted to share that with you, those of you who aren't listening. Let's play a little bit of that, Amina.
Hi, Buck. Hi, you're on the air. What would you like to say?
Hey. Well, listen, I'm listening to your show. I always love your show.
Thank you.
Okay. The lady that was talking about the hair braiding deregulation.
Mm-hmm.
don't get it. You know, if they regulate hair braiding, how are the little kids gonna make their little money when they do hair and stuff like that? Are they trying to deregulate that? I didn't get that part.
Oh, well, so usually little kids aren't professional hairstylists working in a salon where people are paying money to have professional treatments. They are talking about regulation for when you are in that situation. So if I'm doing my sister's hair as a little kid, obviously you're not going to regulate that. But if I open up a salon that is going to allow me to use chemicals and products that could have really deleterious effects on people's bodies, if I were a white person doing that, working on white hair, I would have to go to school because there is a recognition that white bodies require a level of science and study. And so no one would want to open up a salon that hadn't been properly regulated in that context. There's this idea, however, that black hair for some reason doesn't have the same sort of needs, that black bodies don't require the same sort of care and study. And so that's where this effort to deregulate natural hairstyle and braiding licenses, which is a subset, and some might say, of cosmetology, that's where that's coming from. So two very different scenarios. Does that make sense for you, Buck?
Can I ask you a question? It
You
makes
sure
a
can.
lot of sense. Thank you so much.
Mhm.
But I want to ask you a question. Now, do you think, all right, you know, a lot of black businesses that used to be ran have been taken out because of regulations and license.
Like which ones?
You know what I'm saying?
No, I don't. Which ones?
Well, okay. Well, like we used to do like cutting hair and like we used to go around and like we used to set up shop. Like if you set up, you know how back in the days they used to set up watermelon stands, set up stands. You can't do that no more without a license for it.
Well, part of the reason is because if I'm cutting up watermelon on the side of the road, we now know that like there's some procedures I should follow. Like I should wear gloves, for example. I shouldn't just like dig my nose and then go back to cutting up a watermelon. So regulations, whenever we hear that phrase, it's a multi-syllabic lawyer word, but it basically means a set of rules to ensure that people are going to be safe. Because if I buy watermelon, and I'm a frequent side of the road watermelon purchaser, because that's where you can usually get the best watermelons with the seeds, at least in my perspective. So I want to make sure that the person I'm buying watermelon seeds from has a set of hygiene processes that all the other food handlers across the state are following. Like I don't want to expect to have my food safely prepared in, say, a fast food restaurant, but then in the sorts of food provisions that black people do, we don't worry about safety for them. They don't need to worry about washing their hands. They got them super Negro germs. So you see, sometimes we talk about regulations as a bad rap, but we also recognize that when you don't have regulations, like I'm not going to a restaurant that has an F rating, because that F rating means it's a dirty restaurant. So I want the regulations in place so that I know that. Now, what you are speaking to that I think we have to be mindful of is, are black people being overly regulated in a particular way? And what we found with the example of hair care is that you got almost 40% of black women who are experiencing some form of hair loss and alopecia. I need the person who's got their hands in my head to understand something about alopecia. I need the person who's got their hands in my head to understand something about like what can happen when you transfer dirty products or dirty utensils from one person's head to another person's head. I am deserving of that in terms of safety for my body as much as, if not more so than, is my white sister deserving of it, because we all study white people's bodies. It's rare that black people have a system that says, no, there is a standard for us too. And so that's one of the ways that I would think about that. Any final comment?
I wanna
Pause.
thank you.
Pause.
Yeah,
Pause.
yeah,
Pause.
please.
Pause. Amina.
one
Pause. Okay. Now I'm seeing Buck might have been a troll because I'm sitting there and I saw the call screener say possible troll, and I said, okay, he about to get jacked up. But what ended up happening is, if he intended to call up, and apparently he had called the morning show as well, what Loree was able to do, which is to me the instruction here for me, maybe for some of you with your children, the people in your family, is you can even utilize the troll. There's a scripture about a donkey being utilized, the fig tree being utilized to deliver a message. She was able to articulate the legalities around why we have regulations and things like hair and food, and it was so masterful. I was so happy. Okay, finish.
Last thing I want to say, I think it's a good thing if you get to choose if your kid get vaccinated or not. Like I think it's a bad thing when they mandate it.
Oh, okay. So let's tease this out, because I think you're speaking for something that a lot of people would probably agree with. I know, and I'll be honest. I know you probably think I'm going to disagree with you, Buck, but you and I kind of have something in common here, because my husband and I, when we vaccinated our kids, and I'm very honest about this, we vaccinated once at a time. Like there's that recommended schedule where you do all the things that, and when, a couple different jobs. We was like, nah, we good. We gonna come and we gonna do it and we gonna spread it out. So I'm with you on wanting to ensure that parents have the ability to support the medical decisions that are being made in their household. I get that. However, Buck, if my child is going to school and my child breathes air with your child, then I want to make sure that all of us are breathing air that is as clean as possible. And if your child is coming to school and you have chosen to not vaccinate your child at all, right? It's one thing if you're going to homeschool your child. Like if you're going to keep your children at home, that's one thing. But once you're in a shared space, there is a shared obligation. Right? Because I'm not breathing the air by myself. Your child isn't breathing the air by their self. We are collectively breathing the air. The educators in the room are breathing the air. The kids in that room who may not be able to get vaccinated because of the illnesses that they're struggling with, they are breathing that air in that room. So once we're in a shared space, then I like to think of this in terms of shared responsibility and obligation. Now, Buck, are you a doctor by any chance? You may be. I'm not.
Oh, I'm a truck driver, baby.
Okay. All right, to the mother truckers. Now, as a truck driver and myself as a lawyer, I can tell you right now, half the reason I did not go to medical schools because me and science did not get along very well. And so I don't know a whole lot about communicable diseases, but I do know that I don't want any. And in a public space, when it comes to whether or not my child is going to breathe out measles and your child is going to breathe in chickenpox, there are some regulations, right? Some rules that might make all of us a lot healthier in those spaces. And that's why we have vaccine mandates, because when you don't have vaccine mandates, you have mass death. Now, you don't have to take my word for it. Last week, I went through, you might have missed this episode, but we went through and I showed examples on my YouTube page as well of what was happening with healthcare and various diseases before the vaccines came into place. We looked at it with measles. We looked at it with polio. There was a couple of different diseases. And then we saw how in America alone, tens of thousands of deaths, tens of thousands of infections. And then here comes the year where the vaccine is in place, and then boom. They go from tens of thousands to 100. And then after a decade or so, that 100 drops to 10. So we have science that can inform the decision making that we have. Now, if I'm a parent and there's a vaccine mandate that I don't agree with, I can keep my child home. I can homeschool. I can put them in a school where other people who don't believe in vaccines agree. But because we live in a democracy where majority rules, the majority of us say we don't want the bubonic plague. The majority of us don't want measles, mumps, and rubella. And so the majority of us have decided to participate in the science known as public health. And so that means that we going to get these vaccines. And you may, as a parent, not want them. That just means you can't come and use this public good known as a community education space. You understand what I'm saying?
I totally understand, Ms. Favors. But what I don't understand is if it's not mandated and you choose to get your kid vaccinated, then that's your choice.
Well, here's the thing, though. Here's the thing. Remember we talked last week about what happened in Disneyland and how one child with the measles went to Disneyland a couple years ago, and then hundreds of children that are also at Disneyland who were not just from the United States but other countries then also took measles home with them, and it created a mass transfer of this disease because that one parent didn't want to vaccinate. I'm one of those people who believes that the needs of the group matter more than the needs of any individual. If you are an individual, and in America that's hard because in America we believe in rugged individualism, like the individual controls, and that's good. But I come from an I am because you are, we are because I am Ubuntu sort of perspective, and the needs of the group outweigh the needs of an individual if your need as an individual exposes the group to harm. That's just how I see
Period.
it. That's just, and I know reasonable people can disagree, but because we live in a very unreasonable world that is run by white entitlement and incompetent policies, we all should probably wear some masks.
I am because we are. You are because I am. Like this is the way forward. And I know we have been used to being very selfish. This is a very, very selfish nation, a very, very selfish world. But that selfishness will end all of us. I love what she said. I love that Buck called in and tried to troll and got educated. But it was also, to me, instruction for how, and I'm not going to promise, y'all might still get chop suey, chopped in the throat. I don't know. It still could happen. I'm going to try to be a little more kind to the people because it sounded like he was very strong, and then he left there. It was like, yeah, I think he had food for thought.
We're ready. We're prepared. Do not give in to fear. We are fearless. This is not the time to be afraid. This is a time to stand up and fight back and to resist any temptation for them to divide us. We're in this together. The rule of law is on our side. We will not give in, not give up. We will not capitulate. We will not bow. We will not bend. We